Zionists want to rule the world because the Judeo-Christian Zionist European Alliance wants to deliver to the state of Israel the status of ruling state in the world. That's why we believe all these wars are taking place. But why does Israel want to rule the world? They said some 50, 60 years ago, and even then they were telling monstrous lies. So 9/11 was not the first lie. They said that all that we want to do is to create a Jewish homeland in the Holy Land where Jews can live in safety and security. That's all we want to do. And we say that was a monstrous lie. What you wanted to do was to establish a Zionist state in the Holy Land, which would seek to impersonate Holy Israel, the Holy State of Israel, that was established by Nabi Dawood, alayhi salam, the Prophet David, and Nabi Sulaiman, alayhi salam, the Prophet Solomon, and that this Zionist state of Israel would one day rule the world. That's what you wanted to do. And you want Israel to rule the world so that one day, not too long from now, incidentally, a man would stand up in Israel. Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam described that man to us 1400 years ago or more. So if you're listening in Washington tonight, let's tell you what the Prophet said. And if you're listening in London and in Jerusalem tonight, let's tell you what Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said. He said that that man would be a Jew. He would be a young man. And so the end of history will witness young people taking over the world. He would be a powerfully built man. He would have curly hair. And he would declare, I am the Messiah. But that would be a lie. The Messiah is the son of Mary. Sorry, more than that. He was the son of the Virgin Mary. There's only one virgin in the world who ever gave birth to a son and still remained a virgin. And that was Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam. He is the Messiah. Muslims believe that. And most Christians believe that. I don't know whether the Zionist Christians also believe that. Somebody should ask them. He is the Messiah. And one day he's coming back, said Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Whether Washington believes that or not is irrelevant. One day he's going to come back, said Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And when he comes back, he's going to rule the world from Jerusalem. That is in the Hadith, because he would be Hakimul Adil, a ruler who will rule on the basis of justice. Those who today rule the world do so with injustice. That's why they want this Israel to rule the world. Because that man who says, I am the Messiah, would not be the son of the Virgin Mary. No, said Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He would be al-Masih Dajjal, the false Messiah, the Antichrist. Every Muslim knows about him. Most Christians know about him. I don't know about the Zionist Christians. And so lots of people know this subject. And that moment when that man is going to rule the world from Jerusalem appears to me to be around the corner. Maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years. And so this is why they want to attack Iran. We want to begin our analysis tonight by pointing out that there is a moral foundation to the law of war and peace. And that moral foundation is that you do not launch wars unless there is a just cause for it. Iran has not done anything. Iran has not attacked Israel. Iran has not launched any missiles on Israel. Iran is not waging war on Israel. And so, in accordance with your Israeli law of war, which has an immoral foundation, no morality attached to it, you have the right to wage war against the people unjustly. And so, an attack on Iran would be unjust war. It would be an act of dhulm, in using the language of the Qur'an, an act of wickedness. Those who launch the attack would be a people who are committing monstrous sin. But I want to say something more. To those who are beating the drums of war in the Arab world, and who are looking forward to the attack on Iran, that you are beating the drums of unjust war. And when the attack takes place, you will be committing the same sin as supporters of the war, as those who are themselves perpetrating the war. And shame on you! Shame on you, we say to you, straight to your faces, from here in Malaysia, that if you support the attack on Iran, you are supporting unjust war. You are yourselves a party of dhulm, and Allah does not provide guidance to the people who commit dhulm. One of the reasons why many Arabs, not all Arabs, not at all, but many Arabs are beating the drums of war, looking forward to an attack on Iran, is because Iran is Shia. They hold the view that Shia are kuffar, and hence it is permissible to launch war on the kuffar, the disbelievers. How can you come to this conclusion, the Shia are kuffar? If the Shia are kuffar, then there must be some ijma' or consensus of opinion on that subject. That consensus has never been achieved in 1400 years. Why? How can we say so? Here is proof. This is not the only proof, but this is adequate. The no regime in control of the Hijaz, in control of the Hajj, in our history that we know of, has ever prevented the Shia from performing the Hajj. As a consequence, we say, it is too late in the day now for you to come with any manufactured arguments declaring the Shia to be kuffar. Yes, we agree that it is an act of profound misguidance to declare that Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was a usurper, and that Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was a usurper, and that Uthman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu was a usurper. Three of the foremost companions of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. It's a massive vote of no confidence in the Prophet himself alayhi salatu wasalam. And we say of those who insist that these three companions of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam were usurpers, we say you are profoundly misguided. But we never say that you are not Muslims. You still are our Muslim brothers. And so the argument that the Shia are kuffar and hence it is permissible to launch war on them is invalid. But secondly, does the religion of Islam say it is permissible to wage war on kuffar? Where did you learn your Islam from? Mars or Venus or Jupiter? Huh? This is the religion of Islam. Truth is from your Lord. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whosoever wishes is free to accept, and whosoever wishes is free to reject kufr. لَا إِكْرَاهَ فِي الدِّينِ, says the Qur'an. There is no compulsion in matters of religion. And so you are not permitted in Islam to wage war against any people because they are kuffar. No. There is a version of Islam today which has emerged in the world, which seems to have originated in Saudi Arabia with Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab. It used to be called Wahhabi, it's now called Salafi, and I have students of mine who are Salafi, and they are my students, which can best be described as a Protestant version of Islam. Protestantism in the modern world is a conception of religion which reduces religion to texts, and which interprets texts literally. As a consequence, Protestant Islam is incapable of distinguishing between appearance and reality, particularly when they differ with each other. But let's leave that fairly technical subject for a while. It is Protestant Islam today which is beating the drums against the Shia. Muslims who are Sunni and Muslims who are Shia have lived together for 1400 years, peacefully, amicably, without any boxing gloves, fighting with each other, without any bloodletting. And it is strange that at a time when the Zionists are about to move to their final stage of the mission, there should come this strange drum beating from that version of Islam, with great hostility to the Shia and paving the way for promoting war against the Shia. They call it a jihad against the Shia. They would like to force the Shia to abandon their Shia beliefs and to become Sunni. Do you do it by warfare? Actually, although they themselves may not understand it, the drum beating against the Shia and the attack which is about to be launched on Iran is located in a larger framework, in which those who are waging war on Islam are seeking to do something that will function as a catalyst for creating Sunni Shia civil war in the world of Islam. Sunni Shia civil war would be something that would be massively beneficial for Israel. Number one, Sunni Shia civil war will make Islam look negatively, a negative image in the world. At a moment when Islam is center stage in the attention of the whole world. Number two, Sunni Shia civil war in Islam, Sunni versus Shia, would function as a diversion, diverting attention, both Muslim and non-Muslim attention, away from the plans of the Zionists to rule the world. Thirdly, Muslims fighting against themselves will obviously lead to a loss of power. Our power will decrease, and that will be strategically advantageous for Israel. But most important of all, if an attack on Iran provokes Sunnis to be so foolish as to turn in hatred against the Shia, and provokes Shia to be equally foolish to turn in hatred against the Sunni, then that Sunni Shia civil war, and I hope none in our audience here tonight is so stupid, it will allow that Sunni Shia civil war to destabilize very important parts of the world of Islam, where there are significant Shia communities living amongst the Sunnis. Before we turn to identifying those areas which can be destabilized and advantageous for Israel, let us conclude this section by asking, how should Sunni Muslims around the world, who I hope would listen to this lecture, how should Sunni Muslims respond to an unjust Israeli and NATO attack on Iran? Number one, Sunni Muslims must follow the guidance of the Qur'an and the guidance which has come from Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and not follow CNN and Al Jazeera. And you must support the victim of aggression. وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Even if the victim of aggression is not your friend. In this case, he's your Muslim brother. You must support the victim of aggression, and you must condemn the aggressor. That is the first response. Iran will be a victim of aggression, and Israel will be an aggressor. How should Pakistan respond if Israel attacks Iran? And I hope the Pakistani people are listening. How should Egypt respond if Israel attacks Iran? Pakistani Muslims and Egyptian Muslims must ensure that they, the people, don't wait on the governments and don't wait on the armed forces. The people must respond by showing massive popular support for Iran as a victim of aggression, and must clearly condemn not only those who wage war on Iran, but also those who support those who are waging war on Iran, with particular reference to the government of Saudi Arabia. Number two, so we have dealt briefly with the Sunni-Shia civil war problem. War on Iran, and my gosh, look how much time has gone. War on Iran obviously is going to impact on the world economy. Number one, on the price of oil. Not only because Iran is a major supplier of oil, but also because Iran is located in that basin that the Iranians call the Persian Gulf and the Arabs call the Arab Gulf, and they're still fighting over the words. This is the oil basin, and the river Euphrates enters into this basin. And Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam told us 1400 years ago that the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. I suggest that you don't wait for the metal. I want to suggest to you that this is not a text to be understood literally. Protestant Islam is going to wait for a mountain of the metal. Let them wait. And we're not speaking disrespectfully of Protestant Islam. No, we're not speaking disrespectfully of the Salafis. Let me repeat it. I am not speaking disrespectfully of the Salafis, and I'm not speaking disrespectfully of their methodology or for literal interpretation of the text. All I'm saying is let them wait for the mountain of the metal. We interpret the text differently. And we say that mountain of gold is already here. And it's black gold. And it's oil. And the Prophet prophesied that they're going to fight over it. And in the end, 99 out of every 100 are going to be killed. Conventional wars don't kill 99 out of every 100. Conventional wars do not kill 99% of all combatants. This has to be nuclear war to kill 99% of all combatants. Okay? So the Persian Gulf or the Arab Gulf is waiting for nuclear attacks. The price of oil is going to shoot up because Iran can also block the Straits of Hormuz. Yes, in our Iranian territory on this side and Oman on that side. It's not difficult for Iran to block the Straits of Hormuz and disrupt the passage of oil tankers. So we can anticipate fairly confidently that the price of oil is going to escalate dramatically once the attack takes place. And the American government knows that. And that's why the American government does not want Iran to be attacked. Because the American government knows, and the Federal Reserve knows, and the bankers also know that the US dollar is going to collapse. It will not survive an Israeli attack on Iran with the price of oil shooting up through the roof. And if the US dollar collapses, of course, they're going to have to demonetize the US dollar. It will no longer be legal tender. They have to have something in place. They probably already have something to replace it, but at a fraction of its previous value. The American economy is going to collapse. Large numbers of white Americans are going to lose their wealth. And many of them are going to be listening to this lecture. There's going to be chaos in the United States when the economy collapses. There can be riots in the United States, and they're already anticipating that. And so an attack on Iran would lead to economic, financial, and monetary consequences that will be disastrous for the US economy. Iran wants to become the new, Israel wants to become the new ruling state in the world. And for that you have to go to my book. Would someone kindly give me a copy of Jerusalem in the Qur'an? You have to go to my book, Jerusalem in the Qur'an, for the Islamic eschatology. The Dajjal, when he's released on earth, will live for 40 days. The Prophet said, one day like a year, one day like a month, one day like a week, and all the rest of his days like your days. We said a day like a year, and Britain became the ruling state in the world. And the world experienced what they call Pax Britannica. It wasn't Pax at all, it was only war. And then came a day like a month over here, and the United States of America replaced Britain as the next ruling state in the world. And Pax Britannica was replaced with Pax Americana. And the British sterling pound was replaced by the US dollar. And we said, this is our opinion, that a day like a year came to an end and was replaced by a day like a month. This is the first time in our history that this hadith was interpreted this way. And now we are saying that a day like a month is coming to an end and a day like a week is commencing. And so there has to be a passage from the United States to a third ruling state. And 10 years ago when this book was published, we said the third ruling state is Israel. Israel wants to become the third ruling state. For Israel to become the third ruling state, the United States has to collapse. And so this is going to be the collapse of the economy. Not just the US economy, but more than that. With the dramatic rise in the price of oil, you're going to have a significant rise in the cost of living around the world. Transportation costs are going to escalate. Food prices are going to escalate. Energy prices will rise. And this is also going to affect the prices of manufactured goods. The poor of the world will sink as soon as Israel attacks Iran into greater poverty and in some cases destitution. In Yemen now, they can't afford to buy the cooking gas with which to cook. The middle class around the world will sink into poverty. And when there are so many poor, the majority of mankind in poverty, it's going to be easier. It is going to be easier to rule the world. With people who are too poor to organize themselves, to resist oppression and resist slavery. How should we respond to this impending economic collapse, financial and monetary collapse? How should we respond to the imminent rise of the cost of living around the world? How should we respond? My opinion, and I'd love to hear your opinion before we end tonight. My opinion is to go to that hadith of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. He said about Akhir Zaman, he said, if you have land, hold on to your land. You're familiar with that, aren't you? And he said, if you have animals, hold on to your animals. And then a man asks, O Messenger of Allah, what about if we have neither land nor animals? He said, sharpen your sword. Of course, CNN is going to call him a terrorist now. He said, sharpen your sword, because you're going to be dealing with chaos and anarchy and riots as people seek to survive by fighting each other for food. Where can we get land and animals to sustain ourselves in this impending collapse? The answer is certainly not in the cities. If you believe that you can survive in the cities and get land and animals in the cities, you should buy a one-way ticket to the moon. And so Egypt, I'm talking to you tonight. In Pakistan, I'm talking to you tonight. Listen to me and get out of the cities. 20 million people in a city, 15 million people in a city, who's going to feed them? Where are you going to get your food from? What's going to be the price of that food? Get out of the cities while still there is time. Go to the countryside. Go to where rain falls. Go to where there is water. And produce your own food. Dairy crops, food crops, dairy farming, milk and meat, so that you can survive the storm that is coming. Ensure there is water supply. Do not depend on oil for energy. Use natural energy. A bicycle is natural energy. Wind, solar energy, water energy. Number two, live in small communities, because small communities can more easily sustain themselves without having to be dependent on supplies of food from outside the communities. We now return to Pakistan. An attack on Iran can be launched simultaneously with an attack on Pakistan. The purpose would be to eliminate Pakistan from the nuclear club. But we've been saying this for 10 years now. When the attack on America took place in September 2001, we produced a booklet 2 months later, a Muslim response to the attack on America. That booklet is on my website. And in that booklet we said that those who planned and executed 9/11 had as their ultimate target Pakistan. And they put the blame on Afghanistan so that they could put their troops in Afghanistan, so that they'll be advantageously located for moving in on the final target, which is Pakistan. Why Pakistan? Why is Pakistan so important? The answer is Pakistan is a member of the nuclear club. It is the only Muslim country which possesses nuclear weapons. And according to the Bible of the Zionists, no Muslim country must be able to defend itself. The Zionist Bible says that no Muslim country must have nuclear weapons. But the Zionist Bible says Israel can have as many nuclear weapons as it wants. And Israel should be able to also use its nuclear weapons according to their moral law. And because Pakistan has nuclear weapons, Pakistan has to be denuclearized. Their strategy for denuclearizing Pakistan appeared to me 10 years ago to be to try to so destabilize Pakistan that there may be civil war in Pakistan, and then use that civil war as an excuse that we have to save the world from a nuclear holocaust. We have to save the world from nuclear weapons landing in the hands of terrorists. And so we have a mission. For the sake of mankind, we have to attack and invade Pakistan and destroy the nuclear plants in Pakistan and destroy the nuclear weapons in Pakistan, and also break up Pakistan into bits and pieces so it can never rise again. When that happens, of course, we must have a Zionist friend to take over and control all the pieces. And it is time for Muslims around the world to recognize, including Muslims in Iran, that Israel's most strategic partner, most strategic ally in the world today, after the United States, is India, with Saudi Arabia neck and neck behind India. And so, not only must India be involved in the attack, but also when the attack takes place on Pakistan, and if it succeeds, then in the sequel it is India who must now control the region on Israel's behalf. An attack on Pakistan, a successful attack on Pakistan, and the denuclearization of Pakistan and the breakup of Pakistan into bits and pieces will impact upon Muslims in the whole of that subcontinent in such a way as to bring about a state of demoralization and despair, and send shock waves to Muslims in the rest of the world. That one of the largest Muslim communities around the world, in India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, have now come under the foot of Hindu India. So India will rule the entire South Asia with NATO in control in Afghanistan. What should Pakistan do at a time like this? This late hour. Perhaps it's already too late for Pakistan to do anything, because those who have controlled Pakistan politically and those who have been in control of the Pakistan armed forces have distinguished themselves with their stupidity. And I have to use a harsh language. I'm so sorry to use this harsh language against them. Their awesome and monstrous stupidity these last 10 years since 9/11 in supporting war on terror, which is a euphemism for war on Islam, supporting NATO in the attack on Afghanistan, your innocent Muslim brothers in Afghanistan, and you supporting NATO, killing innocent people. But more than that, handing over the territory of Pakistan to the Zionists. Have you no shame? This is what you did for 10 years. That all the NATO supplies going to Afghanistan went to the territory of Pakistan, and it took you 10 years to stop it. Only when NATO killed 23 Pakistani soldiers, they didn't do by accident. They launched an attack on the Pakistani post while he was sleeping to send a message to you that that's it, the friendship is over, we're coming to attack you now. So only when that happened, now you're going to stop them from transiting the territory of Pakistan with supplies for the NATO troops in Afghanistan? How could you be so stupid to hand over 3 military bases in Pakistan to the United States so that drones could go and from above, pilotless drones, and killing our people innocently? And now, when the knife is about to cut your throat, only now you're waking up. When the attack on Pakistan takes place, I think they already know what's going to happen. So all of these Pakistani Zionists, I call them Zionists, probably already have their suitcases packed. Like they did it in Saigon. And they'll all be flying to Miami and to Los Angeles and to New York to spend the rest of their miserable lives. These traitors. But I'm not talking about them tonight. I'm talking about the Pakistani people, as poor as they may be. In their poverty, they still love Islam. And they hate the government of the United States, which has been committing aggression and oppression with deception after deception. Feelings in Pakistan have reached fever pitch. They know in Pakistan the attack is coming. My advice tonight to them, if it is not too late, I don't know, what can you do? My answer is, if you are to win Allah's help, you got to put your house in order. You got to abandon those who are fighting over sectarian issues. Stay away from them. Get away from these people. Number 2, Allah made riba haram. Pakistan is miserably poor today because of riba. The paper that you're using as money in Pakistan, the rupee, is bogus, it's fraudulent, it's utterly haram. And it's a vehicle of riba. Your ulama in Pakistan have not been able to recognize that all these years. Go look for those scholars of Islam in Pakistan who can recognize that paper to be bogus and fraudulent and haram. Who can recognize so-called Islamic banking to be delivering riba through the back door. Who can recognize that membership in the United Nations organization and submission to the Charter of the UN is a recipe to slavery. Who can recognize that membership in the International Monetary Fund, which prohibits the use of gold as money, is a recipe for slavery. Look for such scholars of Islam and follow them. And also for the people of Pakistan, get out of the cities, go to the countryside, and seek to produce your own food to sustain yourselves in a tomorrow that is coming that's going to be horrible. Let us now turn to implications for the United States of America. As soon as Israel attacks Iran, and my opinion is that Israel is not going to attempt to deliver a knockout blow. Israel will attack Iran in order to commence wars that she hopes will follow one after the other. As soon as Israel attacks Iran, the first implication is that Iran is going to attack Iraq. And Iran is strategically poised, advantageously poised to attack the United States in Iraq. As soon as Iran is attacked, Shias around the world are going to respond with solidarity with Iran. And that includes the majority population of Iraq, which is Shia. What about the Sunni in Iraq? The Sunnis are waging a war against the United States. They want to get the United States out of Iraq. And if Iran attacks Iraq, the Sunnis are going to also intensify their attacks on the United States. And so the United States is going to be in a no-win situation in Iraq. You'll be facing enemies fighting you on all sides with no friends around you. None. I don't think, and I hope and pray, I don't think that NATO will succeed in getting the Turkish government to act so stupidly to attack Iran. I don't think it's going to happen. No. And let us pray that the Turkish government is not ruled by fools. And so NATO and the United States in particular are going to be faced with war in Iraq that they cannot win. And they can lose. They can lose. And this is what Israel wants. This is what Israel wants. But there's another battlefront I want to turn to now. And this is where we need our military analysts. I wish we had some here tonight. That Iran is also likely to attack Bahrain. And it should not be difficult for Iran to take Bahrain. Bahrain cannot stand up to an attack from Iran. Bahrain is just across the water from Iran. I am suggesting to you that Iran is going to attack and take Bahrain. And if and when Iran attacks and takes Bahrain, then there's a causeway between Bahrain and Saudi Arabia where you could drive back and forth. The road will be clear to Saudi Arabia. I am anticipating, and the Saudis probably already have their plans laid out very well, because they know what's going to happen. And Israel already knows what's going to happen. That they're then going to turn to the United States to invoke whatever secret agreements they have of defense. That the United States has to intervene in Saudi Arabia to protect Saudi Arabia from an attack from Iran. I think the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure, even though the US armed forces would not want to go in there, even though the Barak administration would not want to go into Saudi Arabia, the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure that American forces will have to enter into Saudi Arabia to face Iran. I'm also suspecting that they might do the same thing with Pakistan, to force the Pakistani political leadership and military leadership to follow some secret agreement they probably already have, to bring Pakistani troops into Saudi Arabia to face Iran. If that happens, number one consequence will be the United States will be facing two fronts where they're going to lose the war. The first front will be Iraq, and the second front will be Saudi Arabia. And Pakistan will be facing defeat in Saudi Arabia and civil war in Pakistan. In order to save the United States from defeat, Israel will have to intervene. And so history will repeat itself. For those who have been reading Jerusalem in the Qur'an. In order for the passage from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana to take place, you remember? The First World War had to take place. And in the First World War, the Germans brought in their submarines. And Britain, the island, was marooned, surrounded by German submarines. And Britain would have lost the war. And at that critical moment, the Zionists then brought the United States into the war, despite the efforts of men like Henry Ford. And when the United States entered into the war, then Britain was saved from defeat. But the consequence of that was that Britain was no longer the ruling state in the world. And the transfer of power from Britain to the United States was well on the way as a consequence of that First World War. So I am suggesting to you that the planning that is now taking place is a repeat of what happened then. That they're setting a trap for the United States, so that the United States is going to be led to a situation where it's going to be facing defeat in Iraq and in Saudi Arabia. These are my opinions, you don't have to accept them. And only one power in that region could intervene to save the United States from defeat, and that is Israel. And that would be the bell being rung. That this is the passage of power now from Pax Americana to Pax Judaica. And so our Islamic eschatological analysis is that the United States is being led with a controlled demolition of the US dollar, not happening by accident. A controlled demolition of the US economy is not happening by accident. And a trap being set for the United States militarily, so that the United States will can no longer be recognized as the ruling state in the world, and Israel can replace them. I want to end now by turning to two actors, and we thank Allah that He created both Gog and Magog. If He had created Gog alone, we would have been in a lot of trouble now. But He created both Gog and Magog. And He gave both the Gog and Magog the power that none can fight them except Allah Himself. So if Gog and Magog turn against each other, they'll destroy each other, wouldn't they? I think that for Russia and for China, an Israeli attack on Iran, particularly if it involves the use of nuclear weapons, would be recognized as a threshold being crossed. That so long as you did not cross that threshold, Russia and China were prepared to go along and continue. In the Security Council of the United Nations, for example, cooperating and collaborating where possible in managing the affairs of the world. But once you cross that threshold, the implication for Russia and China is that you have crossed the point of no return. And that an attack on Iran is now going to inevitably lead to world war. That after Iran and after Pakistan and after the Arabs, the Zionists are going to turn on China and Russia to make sure that China and Russia also bend down their knees and accept Israel so that Israel can become the ruling state in the world. No Jew is going to accept Dajjal as the Messiah if Israel has not established its dominion over the whole world. No Jew will accept Dajjal as the Messiah when he comes if Israel at that time has not established its political and economic dominion over the world. And that includes Russia and China. And so Russia and China would know, today it's them, tomorrow it's us. And they're not going to wait until tomorrow to recognize that. The minute Iran is attacked, they will recognize that the threshold has been crossed and that we are now moving inevitably towards nuclear war. Russia and China acted strangely on Libya. You remember? When the vote came to the Security Council, they abstained, knowing full well that if they abstain, the resolution will be carried. And that is the end of Gaddafi and end of the Libyan government. Why did they do that? I have asked the question. I have an answer, but I can be wrong. I felt that perhaps they knew what the plan was. And they wanted to let the Western world, NATO, to sink deeper and deeper into a quagmire. You know, like shifting sands, you can't get up. So eventually, they will end up in the graveyard, and only then will Russia and China attack them. How are Russia and China responding to Syria at the moment? How will Russia and China respond to an attack on Iran and on Pakistan? My understanding is that Russia and China are going to be quite different in the way they have behaved so far in international affairs. Quite different once the attack on Iran takes place. And so we will be heading ultimately towards world war. A world war which the Qur'an has anticipated when Allah spoke about Gog and Magog. And when He said in Surah Al-Kahf, وَتَرَكْنَا بَعْدَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَمُوجُ فِي بَعْضٍ, which can mean, one of the possible meanings is that on that day Gog and Magog are going to clash with each other. If Gog and Magog clash with each other in nuclear war, with thousands of nuclear weapons being used, what will be the consequence for the world? Let me end with Surah Al-Isra, the ayah or the verse of Surah Al-Isra, in which Allah says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا نَحْنُ مُهْلِكُوهَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُوهَا عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا كَانَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَسْطُورًا. And not a single town or city will escape. They'll all be destroyed. And those which escape destruction will be punished with terrible punishment. And all of this is inscribed in the book. This brings an end to our preliminary analysis of the implications of an Israeli attack on Iran. We have certainly not exhausted the subject. And it is likely that we'll have to come back to the subject in a second and a third lecture. But I do believe that we have done sufficiently tonight to provoke you now to think on the subject. And I'll be very happy to hear your views and your responses. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.